Werbung. Du benötigst eine Webseite mit der richtigen Kundenansprache sowie mit dem richtigen Aufbau zur Lead-Generierung. Du hast vor, eine App zu entwickeln und keine Ahnung, was dich erwartet. Du willst ein Start-up gründen und brauchst dafür von Anfang an den richtigen Technologie- und Marketingpartner. Du benötigst eine individuelle IT-Lösung für ein Projekt. Du möchtest die Geschäftsprozesse deines Unternehmens digitalisieren. Mit FINROCKS hast du den richtigen Partner gefunden. Besuche die Website von FINROCKS www.finrocks.com und schreib dem Team eine Nachricht. Sie freuen sich auf dich und werden sich bei dir zurückmelden. So, thank you very much, Mr. Zdechovsky, Tomáš Zdechovský. You are a member of the European Parliament for the Christian Democratic Party, KDU-ČSL, that is what it's called in Germany. And you're a member of the European Parliament since 2014. And you are a member also of the Committee for Budgetary Control. And not only you are a member, but you are vice chair of the committee. But before that, before we discuss maybe like what you do as a politician, I would like to know what was your motivation to become a politician? How did you start, and what was your first motivation actually to get involved into politics?
Yeah, thank you very much for really your excellent invitation. And if you have it 2 hours, I will tell you all about my road to the politics and about what I was expected and what's happened, but I'm not sure that you have it so much times about it. But from my perspective and from my vision, it was first, I come originally from the aristocratic family, and we were discussing every time the problem about how to engage in politics, because in the communist time and in Nazi times, we were under the pressure, the both undemocratic regime, and for me and for my family, it was very important really to engage in the public sector and tell something that we want something to change. And it was my dream to come to the politics and something to change. I was before the entrepreneurs. I headed 3 companies. I was really businessman, crisis manager, and person who was looking really for his topics. One of company where I was the owner and director was for the education of the people, and third was really focused for the research of brain. Also 3 different companies, and these 3 companies were very successful. And in one time I said, because I was advisor of many politicians, I started my working life at 18 when my father passed away, and I was alone. I had to go to the work. I started with professional journalist in some regional media, and when I was 21, I was editor in one of the Czech media, and then the director of this media. Also, my career started a little bit early. Also, when I was 26, I was advisor of some MEP, and I went to the Brussels. And when I was here, I asked myself that I would like to be member of European Parliament, and I did everything for that to be member of European Parliament. Also, in 6 years, my dream was really successful, or it was real. Also, I took all this opportunity to present myself and to go step by step and be member of European Parliament.
Okay, that's very interesting. And so because you are from the Czech Republic, you have also, or this is like something that's, I think, interesting to know, Because how do you, because you're a European politician, so you're not a national politician, you're a European politician, but you represent a part of your country, of the Czech Republic in Europe, kind of. But how did you kind of get so involved into European politics, into what is going on in Europe and in the European Union? Did it come with when the Czech Republic actually entered the European Union, or was it before that already that you were pro-European? And also, I would like to know, like, what is your perspective on the European project from a Czech, unique Czech perspective? Because it may be different to each member country how they actually see the European Union.
Yeah, it was a really combination of the things. When I was journalist, I saw that not so many people are really interesting what the European Union mean. And part of my family live in Austria, and I saw huge progress of Austria when they came in 1995 to the European Union. I know what does it mean really have it one currency, what does it mean it's Schengen without borders and other things, what really helped to Austrian make a huge progress. And when I saw the debate in the Czech Republic, it was many of fake news. Many politicians, included the president of the Czech Republic, what was Václav Klaus in this time, were speaking about European Union very negatively, and they present European Union as a devil, what is really very problematic, what stake our freedom, etc. And I was fighting against, because as journalist you can check everything, you can write about everything, and I started to be very involved in the issue to present the European Union. And many of my colleagues, there were a lot of protests in the Czech Republic against the nuclear power Temelín from the Austrian side. And some of my colleagues told me, listen, if you have it more information, write about that. And I started to write the tweets on Facebook, commented in many discussion and speak with people that European Union is very helpful in many issues. And from these times, really increased my knowledge about the EU, and I started to interested how really make the Europe better, because I saw some things what were really very good to criticize, and what were not very successful story of the EU. It's many of agencies, many of the posts, what we have it in the European Union, bureaucracy, etc. And I said, okay, if you want to make any evolution of the EU, you have to be included in the process. This is why I was interested about this, the work of the member of European Parliament, and I started to think about my future profession.
Mm-hmm. Okay, that's super interesting how you describe that. But what's also interesting, I think, is to think of the European Union, because you mentioned bureaucracy, you mentioned like structures that are maybe problematic, maybe there are too many government, let's say, government layers or government institutions in between for each process and each regulation. So how do you see that, and how do you think is the European Union functioning well, or is it like a bureaucratic monster, as many people describe it? Because many journalists say it's too bureaucratic and it's too complicated. Can it work? Is it working effectively in your opinion, or is it working not so effectively?
I think much more bigger bureaucratic hell is the French Ministry of Agriculture as the European Union. Also from my side and from my position, I will tell you that yes, European Union is bureaucratic many times. We are really losing time with many things, what you can make easy, what you can make digital. But if you saw how the European Union react on the pandemic of COVID-19, it was very quick and very effective. If I compare how was functioned the European Parliament and the Czech Parliament, the European Parliament was in 2 weeks absolutely digital. You could vote digital, you could be present on the meetings digital, and everything was digital, and it was very easy. And in the Czech Republic, they were still working by person, or they were close. Also, it was another. Sometimes it's complicated because people are complicated, and the member states wants more work, but they don't know that European Union was built by the member states, and every member state wanted a little bit peace. The European Union, they built it so bureaucratic because they wanted to have it bureaucratic, and now is it time for any evolution, I will say reform. And someone has to look on the European Union and has to bring here the new things and new ideas, how to improve the European Union and make it much more effective. Because in many policy, we established the agency, and this agency make the same work as another agency. I will give you one example. We have it agency for gender balance. This effectivity of this agency is very poor, and we have it the same agency in Wien, what is general about human rights and about the rights of the people in the European Union. They have it on agenda, the gender things, and many times they describe the same things as the same agency what is in Portugal. Also, why you have it 2 agencies? Why you have pay 60 or 80 people what are doing the same work in 2 cities of the Europe, and how the European Union is using this expertise and this work. Also, it's very problematic, and I have to tell the people, okay, it's time to criticize the European Union, but it's first step. Second step, what we will do it. Or second things, we are generals speaking about make European Union useful. When the European Union start, they have it 2 committee what were advising the European Union some of things about regional politics and about social and economics aspects. It's the Committee of Region and Economic and Social Committee. Okay, this is in this moment when the European Parliament is very strong and we have it the both function, we have it still this 2 committee, what costs absolutely amazing money, what you can spend much more effectively. And you have it member of European Parliament from many regions. Although you don't need here this regional forum, what I call, or the Economic and Social Committee, what are really sending a report, what nobody read it. Nobody is interesting. And I think it's a relic from the history. And if you want to be really effective, you will change it and you will stop this committee, or you will include it in European Parliament. I think this is the most easy issue how to solve it.
Okay, so that's interesting. So the European Union obviously is very, very big, but it has many member states and it has a large population. But then on the other hand, because you said that the bureaucratic structure of the union itself is not compared to, for example, the French agriculture ministry. I heard the same thing about the city of Cologne in Germany, that people say often only the city of Cologne has more people employed publicly than the European Union in total in Brussels. So that's the thing that people often misunderstand maybe about the European Union, that it's actually not as large as people think, or it does not employ as many public people as they think, and so also it's not as expensive as they think probably. Would you agree with that? That it's not as financially intensive as maybe the, let's say, the profits out of the union, the profits that it creates for the market and for the companies and for the people moving around without borders and so on. So that's such a large profit that these financial things are not really a big matter, or would you disagree?
Yeah, it's absolutely true. And another example I will give you, we have it the agency for asylum. This is EASO, and we are still paying the United Nations agencies what are doing the same work. Also, in Greece, especially, are working both agencies, the United Nations agency and European. Why? Also, we are speaking about the effectiveness, about that how to spend the money, how the money has it under the control, and we have it still many duplicates. What it's the relic of the history, and what nobody wants to hear and nobody wants to solve. This is why I really many times criticize the politicians around the world, because it's a little bit stupid wants any reform about in the Ukraine or in the Africa about the structure, how to behave, and general public sector, etc. But the EU needs the same reform. We are functioning, we are democratic, but we pay much more, and many times we don't spend the money very effectively.
Mm-hmm. Okay, as you mentioned Ukraine, I would actually like to talk about this topic now, because it is a matter for the European Union. So the war in Ukraine, the Russian aggression in Ukraine is still ongoing. It is in the east of the Ukraine at the moment. But we hear that the Russians are moving forward every day, not a lot, but a little bit. And so the Ukraine needs more weapons. It needs more weapons and more support from its partners. So there was a lot of debate within Europe and also in Germany about, should we send tanks, should we send other heavy armory and other heavy vehicles and so on. And then there was this point in discussion where people said the NATO says that we are not allowed to deliver tanks, heavy tanks, to the Ukraine, but the Czech Republic is a member of NATO and has sent T-72 tanks, Soviet tanks, to the Ukraine. So how do you see that debate where the Czech Republic was so quick in delivering weapons to Ukraine, and in Germany and many other countries, they were so hesitant about that?
It's really sometimes pity, sometimes shameful behavior of many politicians. I'm not only member of European Parliament, but I'm a member of the Czech Army as a reservist. I have it very good position of lieutenant in the Czech Republic. And I saw it from the perspective, if you want to fight against the aggression, you need to have it really soldiers, very well trained, and you need the military equipment. The Ukraine had it, the soldiers. Sometimes they were very well trained, and they didn't have it any equipment. Also, if you don't send it the equipment, the problem is that you will not solve the problem, and you will not stop it, the aggression. This is what I explained many times to Spanish, Italian, German, and especially French colleagues, because they told me, listen, Tomas, the aggression of Russia will grow up if we will send there the military equipment, included the tanks. And I said, listen, if you will not stop aggression in Ukraine, we will face it. the aggression in the Czech Republic, in Slovakia, in Lithuania, Latvia, Estonia, and in Poland. And we know why we have to really help to Ukraine to stop Russia, because we have it very good experience, and good, I don't mean in positive way, with Russian aggression. In 1968, they came to the Czech Republic and they were stealing the things, they were raping, they were really every time killing the people. They killed a lot of people, and a lot of people die by the Russian aggression in these times. Also, our experience from 1945, and especially it must be for the German very frustrated, because I present many times on the Twitter the stories of a German woman what was raped and killed by the Russian army, how they behave in 1945 in the autumn. It was not war, and these women were not responsible for the war. It was responsible the soldiers, but they were killing them, they were really raping them, and they were beating them. And this is what the German has to understand, and French people has to understand, because the Russian behavior never stopped on the borders with the Ukraine. And I will tell you one story what is very important. It's the state terrorist attack in Verbětice, what was investigated in 2021. Before we had it, really, the headquarters of the Russian intelligences in Prague. After them, we sent it all this, we are calling them diplomat, but they were people with diplomatic immunity, but they were really making this espionage. Also, they were part of intelligences. We sent it back to the Russia. And from this moment, we stopped a lot of Russian propaganda in Germany, in Czech Republic, in Poland, in Slovakia. Without them, we are now facing a lot of problems, because we see that some of media are using the Russian propaganda and they are presenting them against the Ukrainians, migrants. Also, I think it's really very necessary to wake up in this moment and especially send it to the West European country, strong message that if you will not help the Ukraine now, you will have it the same problems. What we know from the 1968, and we know it from the Second World War, because it was really when no one stopped the Hitler at the beginning, that then they didn't stop Hitler at the end. Also, it was very difficult. Also, in democratic structure, you have to count with them, and you have to be very, very careful if you will not help the Ukrainian people to fight against their land and against the Russian aggression.
So the Russian aggression will continue, probably. It is still going on, and it is a tragedy, and it is horrible what happens. So how do you think is the Czech Republic still able to continue to deliver weapons to the Ukraine? How big are arsenals? How big are resources? How long is the Czech Republic, for example, able to continue to deliver weapons? And is there also the political will to continue that for a longer period?
We are prepared to help Ukraine how it will be possible. Really, we are prepared to send it another weapons, and we are sending here all the military equipment and materials. I think that many rockets, what are now helping the Ukrainian army, and many cars, especially the Tatra cars, and you know that we send it their helicopters, we send it there some of things to the MiG-29 and SU, all the SU what is using now the Ukraine army, what we had it in our hangars. Also, we send it everything to the Ukraine, and we are helping Ukraine really to train the people. Also, we are prepared to help. And I think that it's a responsibility to all European countries to help with not only weapon, but with humanitarian things and with other things to Ukraine, because Ukraine are our brothers and sisters. If I don't know that you are originally German, I will think that you are Ukrainian. They have it the same vision of life, the same values, the same quality of life. I visited Ukraine, I was in Lvov, and Lvov is comparable with many German city in the East Germany. Also, I think it's really very necessary to help them, and Czech Republic is prepared to be a leader of the help to the Ukraine with all the things. We are giving there the information about the things, and really for us the word is absolutely clear. Ukraine is in this moment facing the biggest attack and biggest war from the Second World War, and we have really to help them.
Okay, that's interesting that you say that you sent. I didn't understand really. Did the Czech Republic send planes to Ukraine, or did you say that? Did you send jets, or were you saying like
we send it some part of the jets, and in Ukraine the people are so really excellent that they put it together and they had it the new jets. Also, we were really very involved in many issues. What you can see, but we don't present it openly to everybody. Also, yes, we put there some of very important parts of the jets, and now the jets are fighting against the Russian aggression.
Okay, and that's interesting that you say that, because there's this debate within NATO that says that NATO does not want to get involved into the European or into the Ukrainian airspace. They're afraid that if they send jets to Ukraine, if they fly, if the Ukrainians fly, for example, American jets, or French jets, or whatever, that this could actually, lead to the fact that the West gets more and more torn into this war with Russia. So what's your take on that? Because in my opinion, personally, I think that the West is already at war with Russia. I don't think that this war is not happening. I think it is happening, although there are no European, no Czech, no German, no French soldiers in Ukraine, but we deliver weapons. We have massive financial and economic sanctions. We have, political sanctions. How do you see this discussion about we don't want to be at war with Russia, or NATO doesn't want to be at war with Russia, whereas actually everything we do, except that we send our own soldiers to the Ukraine, everything else happens already. So who now says that this war is not already happening? This is, do you see my point?
Yeah, listen, from my point of view, you are absolutely right. We are in the war. The discussion in the EU, we don't have it here, rockets, but if someone in the Russia decided that they will lose the war, they can send it the rockets against every city. And you can see it. They are bombing the Lvov. Lvov is in the west, is near the Polish borders, and they are systematically bombing the city. Also, I was there. When I was there with humanitarian aid, when the war started, I took with my friends from the charity 3 cars, and we brought there a lot of things, especially the meal and the things what they needed. It was the pharmacy equipment and the equipment for the people in the need. And when we were in the Lvov, we had it 6 times. We had it 6 times or 7 times the call to go to the cellar because the city was really under the attack of Russian bomb. And you can imagine that it can happen that some of city of the Europe will face the same problem. Russia has its nuclear power. They are very dangerous. They are unpredictable. You can see what they are using for the bombs and special bombs, what are not conventional in the Ukraine. And from my point of view, it's very important really to stop them now, because in the future, it will be very, very difficult. They will be very strong and they can increase the power in this war a lot. When the Russians came and they took back the Crimea, everybody was speaking, it will be enough. It will be enough. You know that it was problematic in the history if the Crimea is Russian and Ukraine. And I said from my perspective that they will not stop it. And you can see they increase power, they are still fighting, and they are killing systematically the Ukraine people. We can speak about the genocides in Ukraine city. Look how they clean it, the Ukrainians, especially in the Luhansk, Donbass, and in other city. They are really cleaning the cities. They are taking people from these cities to the Russia, to this Siberia, and what is it other as a genocide?
Mm-hmm. Exactly. So they are also transporting, this is what I heard, they are transporting kids, young families from Ukraine to Russia to settle them in Russia, actually. So they force them to go to Russia, they force them to speak Russian, they force them to adopt the Russian currency, they force them to adopt the Russian passport. So they force them to adopt the Russian culture, kind of. How do you, is this, I mean, I think this conflict is maybe not really well understood in the western part of Europe, whereas in the Czech Republic and in Poland, I think there is a much more realistic perspective on Russia, what it's capable of doing, and also on Vladimir Putin, what he's capable of doing. So do you think that if Putin leaves office, if he dies, or if someone else takes his place by force, do you think they would continue this? Do you think Russia would still act like this? Or is this more Vladimir Putin and much less the Russian culture or the Russian will of the nation, but more the will of this dictator and its politicians?
Many politicians from the West thinks that it's only the Putin, but Putin will not do this war if he has behind the intelligences, army, police, and etc. I think that you have to know the Russian culture, and this is the part of the culture. Many of politicians from the West thinks that Russia will stop the war, but they will never stop the war. They will do it they will do the cyber attacks, and looks how many cyber attacks against the hospitals in the Europe they are doing every day. Also, Russians will not change the mentality. Sorry for that really, I will tell you that it's really naive perspective of many member states and many European politicians to think that Russia will change behavior. They will never change behavior. I know Russians for long times, and from their perspective, the Ukraine, Czech Republic, and many of the countries are part of the culture also, and part of the Russians or Soviet Union sphere. Also, they will never stop it. And this is what you have it to explain to everybody, because 32 2 years after the revolution in 1989, the Russians were still doing the aggressive action against the member states. In the Czech Republic, the terrorist attack, what was officially investigated, that behind was Russia in Vrbětice. It was absolutely clearly linked with Russian GRU, and they are thinking that they can do everything. They can do everything. And when will be next terrorist attack? It will be in the Berlin, in the Belgium, in Brussels, etc. Also, if you know what they did against the agent Skripal in Great Britain and how they behave, and the same people were in the Czech Republic to make terrorist attack against the military base in my country.
Mm-hmm. But okay, so that's interesting. But isn't this also a question or a debate where people are not sure whether it is the majority of the Russian people, of the Russian population, really in favor of this war? Do you believe that the majority of the population there thinks that this is a good thing? Because I can't imagine that they would want that. I can't imagine that the people would like that their army just attacks another country. Not only that it's illegal, but also their own people are killed. I mean, there are 25,000 dead Russians already, and more will die. So it's not only that Ukrainians die, but also Russians die. So isn't this, so this is in no interest of anybody of what happens there. So I personally can't imagine that the majority of the country says, yes, we want this. I'm not so sure about that.
Yeah, I think really the Russians don't have the information about reality, and they are trusting the official media. I think that there are some sources to show what's happened in Ukraine, about the Bucha and about other city, about massive impact of the war, but the Russians has it another mentality. It's not European mentality. If something happened in Germany, there will be revolution, but in Russia, there will be not. If you really knows something from the history, and if you can imagine what was the communist regime and how were the repression from the communist regime against the Russian, and now you can see what is really behind of many of the things. I think you will understand why Russians are calm. They are not massively protest against, and there is not any attentate against the Putin, because the people really trust the official Russian media.
Okay, the trust media, and that's also what I heard, that the Russians watch a lot of TV. They watch a lot of state TV, and so when you watch Russian state television, it's nothing but propaganda, nothing but lies and just no facts and just insane propaganda actually. I just wanted to talk about maybe about the section that Vladimir Putin, he is a dictator, he is no Democrat, and he has not really, I mean, he has some support in the population, but in like theoretical terms, he is a dictator. He is also a mass murderer, and he is probably the biggest mass murderer in Europe in the 21st century. This will be what will be known about him in history. So there are speculations about his health, that he might be seriously sick, that he might have cancer. What do you think about that? Do you think that's something to take serious as a politician, or do you think that's not something that is you should speculate about in this situation?
I don't trust this speculation. I think that Putin is playing his role, and as an agent of the Russian intelligences, he knows very well how to play with emotion. And if someone is sick and someone has cancer, it shows that he will die. And many politicians are thinking that he is weak, but he is not. I think it's part of the lies what the Russians present, and they put it really to the public sector. If someone is so sick, like Putin is presented by many Western media, he will not make so huge war against another country. Also, I don't trust them, and I am absolutely sure that it's part of the Russian propaganda.
Okay, that's interesting. So I want to just hop over to another topic because it's also very, very important. And I think it is for you as European politicians also very important. It's just the issue of climate change that we have, the climate problems that we have. We have right now in Germany extreme droughts, so it's very, very dry. It is not raining a lot, neither in the east nor in the west, nor in the south. We have seen this for the recent 3, 4, 5 years, that it's getting much, much worse. So how do you see this whole topic in general? Like, what's your take on climate change and what to do against this?
Yeah, the climate change is many times really very discussed from the ideological way. I think that everybody has to know that it exists, but we need to have a serious study about this issue. We cannot really take any decision only on the wave of the emotion, and it's really necessary to have it straight, absolutely strict the impact studies on the European economy. Because if we will do something and the trust of the people will be not very strong and the support of the people will be very strong, they will boycott it. It can really bring us huge problems, especially social problems in the Europe for the future. And from my perspective, what I saw in the discussion with European Commission, sometimes they were using the dirty tricks. They are saying something about the argumentation, what is really false and what is sometimes much more the green ideological. It's really the electric car much more cleaner than the modern diesel engine. I'm not sure, because how you produce the battery, who is the main producer of the batteries, and how it will be for the future. What is the sources for the things what you are using in batteries? Cobalt, how you produce with the hands of small children in the Africa. Also, if this is something what the Europe will accept, I think that it's not it's against our values, and I think that producer of the batteries and how you will bring the batteries back to the Europe, it's very problematic. Another thing is the recyclation of the batteries. It's really very weak, and the system doesn't function very well. And why now we are telling that it's zero emission? And another things what we are discussing in the Europe, we are now really facing huge threats from the Russia. We stopped our business contacts, and we are now much more independent to the countries like Turkey, India, China. And is regime in China democratic? They are not threaten the Taiwan and other countries in the region as a hegemon and the strongest country. And why we will be independent now on the Chinese market and on the Chinese producer. And I think that it's complete issue. We are producing only 7% of CO2. And many other countries, including China or Russia, are producing much more. And we are focused for the green Europe, but it will be very difficult in the context with other countries. if they will solve it and they will do it the same politics like the European Union. And I think it's necessary really respond this question in global view, overview of the situation, because it's perfect to be green. But if we are much more really focus for the Chinese producer, and we will have the problems that we will be depending to the Chinese production, I think it will be wrong from the European economy, and it will be huge threat for us for the future.
Mm-hmm. Okay, that's very interesting, because I think it's known that the Czech Republic in especially is somewhat very dependent on China, or the Chinese relations are very strong. I think there's like lots, or that's at least what I read, lots of investments direct from China in the Czech Republic, and vice versa. So you said that the dependency on China is a problem. So now we have discussions of people saying globalization should not be that intense anymore in the future, or should not be that interesting anymore. I think that's no solution to our problems, to go away from globalization and go away from global markets. I think they're probably the only solution towards the problems that we are facing in the future. I don't believe, I mean, you're right what you say with China, that it's a regime and a dictatorship, but if you really look at it, that the European Union does a majority of its business is not doing it with democracies, but it's doing it with dictatorships, with autocracies, with countries. Look at all the countries in Africa. None of these countries, except for one or two, are maybe democracies. Most of them are not democracies. In Asia, almost none of these countries are democratically ruled, but the European Union still is very intensively, I think, interconnected with these countries. So in my opinion, it's no solution to really just cut it and say, okay, we should produce more locally, because that will not make us more wealthy, that will not solve the global issues that we have. And I think it will not also help the other countries to be more democratic. I think people say that economic exchange helps. It did not help democracies, but I believe if you continue this way, it may help a little bit. I think, or would you disagree with the globalization topic in general, like that globalization should not be that important anymore?
Yeah, I think you are absolutely right, but that the business helped the democracy, it's true. But the problem is that we are the player who is saying how it will be the conditions. And if we are talking general about that we have to build democracy, the democracy value, and in China are still harvesting the organs from the prisoners, from Falun Gong prisoners. Sorry for that, but it's shame. It's absolutely shame. And we are doing there the business, and we are saying, okay, the presents for the kids are doing the people in the concentration camp, but it's no problem. It's much more cheaper than European production. Also, we will buy it in the China. And if we will not open this problematics, what today I discuss it in the European Parliament, it will be a huge problem for us for the future, because we will lose our credibility, and it's losing the credibility. It's much more difficult for us for the future as a environment problem or Green Deal or something like that, because everybody is looking for us as the center of the democracy, freedom and values, and how we are fighting for our values. I think it must be a win-win situation, and you have to do much more. You have to take much more bigger pressure against the Chinese behavior in many states. And our message has to be absolutely clear. Listen, we will support your businesses, but you have to support the human rights. And if we will not do it, no one will do it. Russian don't take care about human rights in China. American are playing the role plus minus, but Czech Republic is, or the European Union is some of very, very important player what has to tell directly to the China. And this is why what we are saying directly to the Chinese diplomats, that for us it's necessary to increase these things.
Mm-hmm. Okay, yeah. So this was a very interesting discussion. Thank you very much, Mr. Zdechovsky. It was very cool to have met you and to have discussed these topics. If you want to use your last minute to talk about your person or your party, or make an advertisement for yourself or what you do, you can do that now if you want to.
No, I don't want to make any advertisement of something. I would like only tell people that in democratic society, you have the right to follow someone. Also, if you want to follow what I'm saying and how I am saying and presenting my work, you can find me on the social media in every platform. What you know it, I'm using, included the Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, YouTube channel. Also, I think that in democratic society, it's really very necessary to have it contacts and to know the information from the first hand. Also, in this moment, if you want and if you are interested about more things and more topics, follow me. That's all.
Perfect. Thank you very much. And maybe we can talk again in the future. If you want to, you are also always welcome to come back.
Thank you very much, and I wish you all best and thank you for your invitation.
Thank you.